The Pharisees went off and made a plan to trap Jesus with questions. Then they sent to him some of their disciples and some members of Herod's party. "Teacher," they said, we know that you tell the truth. You teach the truth about God's will for man, without worrying about what people think, because you may pay no attention to a man's status. Tell us then, what do you think? Is it against our law to pay taxes to the Roman emperor or not?" Jesus, however, was aware of their evil plan, and so he said, "You hypocrites, why are you trying to trap me? Show me the coin for paying the tax." They brought him the coin, and he asked them, "Whose face and name are these?" "The emperor's," they answered. So Jesus said to them, "Well then, pay to the emperor what belongs to the emperor, and pay to God what belongs to God." So Stephanie, how did you find the reading this morning?
Well, I kind of had a smile to myself. I think Bill English, our Minister of Finance, would be very pleased to hear that Jesus is telling people they have to pay their taxes.
Right.
But flippancy aside, I think it's quite an overarching reading about rendering to God what's God's. And I think, okay, so in my life, what's God's?
Yes. Yeah, keep going with that. That's right.
Well, I kind of think that there's a danger in this reading of splitting things, that, you know, that money and wealth are bad and they only belong to Caesar, and everything else is, you know, or our hearts belong to God.
So that's a materialistic thing, and something that's non-material, spiritual, or something.
That's right. And I think there's a danger in that, because I think Jesus really came to bring life to everyone through all means.
Okay.
And we can use our wealth and our talents, and wealth includes money, for good, not just for, not such good things, which is implying here.
Sure. And also the way we conduct ourselves and the way we handle ourselves, which is something non-materialistic, could be used for God as well. And there's something about employment relations, for example, which is something topical for me, we could say, which is quite contractual. And it's like there's things written down, and you have to kind of follow it there. But there's also something covenantal there as well. The person wanting to do their best or their job, also has to be considered and shine through. And I think that side of things sometimes is just discarded.
It gets lost, doesn't it? In the kind of the busyness of life, and that belongs to Mammon and that belongs to God,
Right.
In reality, everything is God's. God came to redeem the world,
Sure. Exactly. And we've got something here which is something symbolic, I suppose, of that contract with the state. But also, there's something covenantal, something far more intangible, that's far larger and far deeper, that's going to sustain our society than just wealth or something, in agreement there.
I was kind of thinking, when you used that word covenantal, I was thinking like you're married with a family, and in a way your whole life is covenantal. If you chose to live it on the kind of the legalistic level, which is kind of what's going on here, what's the legal thing and what's the heart thing, you'd be in trouble.
Right.
It's got to be covenantal to make it real.
It's a great reminder, and elections are coming up as well, and how are we going to place our votes for people who are going to respond to their calling, and that's often overlooked, I think.
And even that thing of rendering to Caesar what's Caesar's, but also perhaps using some of that to help the poorer people.
Right.
I heard on the radio that in the last 40 years, the distance between the poor and the rich in New Zealand, according to OECD standards, is one of the fastest dividing nations.
Yeah.
You know, New Zealand has outstripped other nations in splitting our rich and poor
Right,
apart.
and the divergence there.
And I just think that's really something we need to think about.
Yes, definitely. Well, let's think about that when we cast our vote at the elections.
Good one. Thanks, Simon.
Thanks, Stephanie.